Please be seated, everyone. Okay, up on the screen now are the list of items that I plan to go over today. Not going to read it to you because we're going to get to them all just here in a minute. Next slide, please. As we went over last time, the Constitution requires that all of these official meetings follow the Roberts Rule of Order. Next, please. Rather than put all of the Roberts Rules of Order up on the screen, I've tried to pull some extracts from what I've been able to see online. Then the main considerations are up here now. All members of the body have equal rights. Free and full discussion is a right. There's only one question or motion that will be addressed at a time. There'll only be one speaker at a time. Now, kind of as a pause, Brian and the audiovisual team back there are recording everything today. So I would respectfully request that if there is a motion or if there is discussion to be had today, we kind of come up to the microphone, talk into the mic, so that way all of the points that are brought up today are recorded and are clear for review at the 50th anniversary. And the last item up there, no one can speak until recognized by the chair. So if you have a motion, if you have a discussion, stand up, call you, come on up here and talk about it. We'll go from there. So at the process, when there's a decision or when there's a question to be answered, is we'll talk about it, a motion will be made. After the motion is made and seconded is when discussion will start. Discussion will continue until either there is no more discussion, in which we'll automatically go to the question, calling the question, or discussion can be cut off by a 2/3 majority vote. This is called calling the question or cutting off debate, as they call it in Congress. Pardon me. Since today's congregational meeting won't be automatically cut off by another church service, I would propose a limited debate. Limited debate means that we'll set a time limit. So we'll go to 12:35. At 12:35, whatever is being discussed or whatever the motion is will be automatically suspended, and we will have a required motion either to extend debate or to adjourn. And if the motion passes, then we go with whatever that motion is. If the motion fails, then it's automatically the other one. So it's kind of a one way or another. Whatever that motion is, if there is a motion that's being debated at that time, then that'll be one of the first items that we deal with at the next congregational meeting. What this does is this puts control of the time limit, not on me or my agenda, but on the body. So that way, the majority decides what happens from there. If there is a decision to extend debate, we'll extend debate for 30 minutes, and then we'll do this entire cycle over again, wash, rinse, repeat. So these are my proposed ground rules. And so I would now ask for a motion that we accept these ground rules and have them applied to the body. June Jenkins motions that these be accepted. Is there a second? We're going to have you turn around. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No discussion, so we'll call the question. All in favor, please say so by saying aye and raising your hand. All opposed, please say nay and raise your other hand. Motion carries unanimously, Mr. Secretary. All right, the first item that we're going to talk about today after the ground rules is staff recognition. Now, as I ask the staff to make their way up here, come on up, and the office staff, come on up, and the pastors, I would like to preface this recognition with this is a kind of the last time we're going to do it exactly like this. A year and a half ago, before the personnel manual was passed, there was a tradition that around Christmas time that we would collect some funds from the congregation, recognize the staff, and present them with a staff gift of love and appreciation. When the personnel manual was passed this summer, there was a new policy that was enacted to kind of replace this, make it more merit-based, make it more of a bonus, pay increase type thing. And we've kind of didn't have that really programmed in the budget, and then kind of had this carry on. So just kind of want to make the official announcement that while we still love you guys, and you guys are still crucially important to the operation of this church, that the policy starting next year will be a little bit different. Now, this church doesn't happen by magic. I mean, Christ owns it, runs the church. His presence is here. This is God's place. There are some volunteers that do a lot of work to make things happen. But I can tell you that I spend a couple, 3-5 hours a month doing my duties with audio, with helping with communion, and the other things that I decide that I would like to do with my time. These guys spend a lot more time than that. There's no way that I could do half of what anybody up here does. And so I would like to start and say, I appreciate you guys very much, what every one of you do to keep my butt out of trouble and to help make this place run smoothly. And so if you guys would join me. Now, the members of our staff, which you don't see up here right now, are the preschool. And this isn't by design. We didn't leave them out. This is purposeful. A little bit later in the spring, the preschool will come over here. We'll have a Sunday that we're going to devote to them. And we decided that instead of trying to get them onesies and twosies here, because a couple of them have other commitments, that we're going to do the same type of recognition for them during their Sunday service. Next, please. Annual reports. Ooh. That's sad. Okay, one of the things I had meant to mention is for those parents that have children here today, there's some DVDs set up playing some, wholesome children's entertainment out there. If your children are out there, they're being watched by somebody else that has children. If we can kind of cycle through there and give everybody a chance and get a break, it's kind of nice for variety every once in a while. All right, back to the annual reports. Everybody had one of these in their folders. I looked at a couple of pages, but I must admit I haven't read the entire thing back to back, and you guys can flail me for that later. But in here are the annual reports. There was also a paper that went out with the annual record of giving that kind of has information that's related to what falls into the category of annual reports from the teams, from the pastors, and from the council. And so this is the part of the congregational meeting where we have a motion to accept these as is. And then following that, we'll have a discussion if there's anything that has to change or that has to be addressed. So may I have a motion to accept these?
Are we making changes now? Or?
We'll make the motion, and then during the discussion, if there has to be a change, we'll make that. So Ken moves to accept the reports as is. Do I have a second? And Sue Perdue seconds. Is there any discussion to be had on these reports? Please come up. Ken, can you come up to the microphone so we can get it recorded, please? Thank you.
On the Mission Endowment Fund, I'd like to make a couple of corrections there. First is a typo on the Bible verse, perfect gift instead of give. And then when it talks about the two beautifully handcrafted display cases, very accurate, wonderful, but we should indicate one of the display cases for the Mission Endowment Fund and the second is for the Memorial Fund. They're not both for the Endowment Fund, so that we have that correct. And then second paragraph, unless I'm not or it's been changed, it is not invested with the Synod. I think it should be stated in there who we invest with. Is that correct, Tom? Is that correct? It's not invested with by the Synod. No. Okay. What organization is?
It's the ELCA. Is Barry Thompson here?
Yeah, it's the ELCA investment fund, but it is a part of the Synod. I know it's separate.
Yeah.
Separate entity, but it's a part of the Synod. The ELCA is.
Well, the Synod, I'm thinking of the Virginia Synod. If we talk about the ELCA Synod, then we should specify that in there. At least it was difficult for me. So we should spell that out. And I know that probably should also reflect the money that has come in that has not been deposited. I think it's very important that this be noted. As I understand, Barry, you need $2,000 in order to deposit. Is that correct?
That's correct, and there's also another inaccuracy in this, so when we come up,
I beg your pardon?
there's another inaccuracy with the money as well. I don't know how important that is.
Are you referring to the audit findings, sir? That will be covered later on today.
All right. So, and I would like to recommend to the endowment that they set up a fund where the money is put in when it's given to the endowment. It's put into an interest-bearing account. I know it doesn't earn much interest in a couple $1,000s, but I think we should do that so that then when we reach 2,000, it is put into the investment system. I'd like to recommend that to the endowment fund board. Thank you.
Secretary.
Yeah, there's a couple of things to point out. Number one, in the congregation minutes for June 2013, in the 5th paragraph, there's just a couple of typographics that need to be changed. The congregational report for 2012-2013 was presented, and also it's the personnel manual, not the personal manual. So I'll make those changes, but that will be included in the motion to clean it up. And also, there's a set of minutes from our special congregational meeting in November. I hit a lot of people, but if anybody needs a copy, I have more copies. Does anybody need? Okay, and that's included in the motion as part of the annual report.
Pastor Jim.
on page 15 in your bulletin, we listed the people who have been received as new members. And there's one that we should add, and that is Nancy Goober. Al and the Albus family joined, and it was Nancy's intention to become a member of the church. She passed into life eternal, and her name is on the tree of life. And I just think it would be most appropriate that we add her name to the list.
When Al Goober joined the church and I got to get a transfer letter, the other church would not transfer Nancy Goober. So in all reality, she is not a member or was a member of RLC. She is right. She is absolutely right.
Okay, so Robert's Rules of Order, what we have here is we have a motion to accept, we have a couple amendments that have to be put on, and a contentious amendment, which is quite frankly what we have. I would propose that we split this into a couple of different things. First, we have an amendment to the original motion to amend the annual report to correct typographic errors. So, as president, I move that we amend the initial motion to accept the typographical corrections. Do I have a second?
I accept that.
Okay. So, which is called a friendly amendment, which is kind of outside Robert's Rule of Order. So, Ken seconds the amendment. All in favor of amending the original motion in order to accept the typographical changes, please say so by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. We had split it, so all that we're doing is talking about typographic. So we have one opposed. The second part of the amendment that I split there was whether we add Nancy Gruber as Goober, I apologize, by name as being transferred to this church. She had perished before the transfer had actually happened. And so the single question that is on the table, because it's not a question as to whether or not we accepted her in spirit, whether her name belongs on the tree. None of that is in question. The question is, for the purposes of the annual report, should Nancy's name be on there? Now, the amendment is, from Pastor Jim, that her name should be included. Do I have a second for that motion? I'm sorry, name, okay. And I apologize, I am so terrible with names. I will tell you right now that I will screw it up 9 times out of 10, so I'll point. And please don't take offense, I love you all. Okay, so now we have a motion, we have a second. Any additional discussion besides what we've already heard?
I think we should not have it on.
Please come up so that we can have this recorded for posterity.
If her name was not transferred here and she did not come in as a member, I don't see that we should accept her as a member. She has not become a member.
We're talking about the name.
That's right.
In the annual report.
That's all.
Okay.
That's right.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Pastor Carroll.
Okay, having spent the last few moments with Nancy, it was her express desire to be a member of this congregation, She simply passed before that could happen. In my heart, she is a member. She's a member of this family. And I know Al's Al here? Al's here, okay. So Al's here. You know as well as I, Al, that Nancy's part of this church. It's part of this family, whether her name's on the list or not. So I don't really know what to advise here.
Al, please come up.
Chris, in spirit, I think Nancy wanted to become a member of the church, but in view of the legality, so to speak, I think for harmony of the congregation, it's best that Pastor withdraws the motion.
The motion has been withdrawn. Motion's been withdrawn. One other point that I'd like to bring up while we're talking about the annual report is there was a Pastor Jim's letter that went out with the pastor's report that went out with the annual report of giving. And it was pointed out to me that the baptized membership of 329 on his letter is significantly different than the number that's reported on the ELC website. Now, I'm going to start this discussion with a really, really quick question. The attendance roster that was in today's bulletin, how many people did not fill it in? Okay, so there's a handful of us. And my hand's up because I didn't either. Okay, and so for whatever reason, I'm not throwing stones at anybody. So my name won't go into the little shepherd's report that Donna, our staff that we recognized earlier, takes care of every week. So what had happened over time is there would be a count at the back that the ushers take care of, and then there'd be a list of names, an account and a list of names, an account and a list of names. And so that list of names wasn't always vetted against the annual attendance. So we would have some people that would move away, they would go to college, they would get job transfers to California, or something would happen. And there wouldn't be necessarily an automatic trigger that would require us to go in and recheck those numbers. At the beginning of this year, after we had submitted our numbers of 429 or 447 or whatever they are on the ELC website, Donna had gone through and being very familiar with the Shepherd staff, saw the number at the bottom and said 447 and said, this isn't quite matching what sounds right. So she went through the Shepherd staff and looked through there and said, oh, look, here's a person that's been gone over a year. Here's a person that's been gone over a year. Here's a person that's died. Whoops. Here's a person that's been gone over a year. So we had about 100-ish people that we were still tracking as active members of our church on the ELCA website, but weren't actually attending service for whatever reason. Now, the Constitution has two criteria that is required for you to maintain membership in the church. Number one, come once a year. Number two, come once a year and commune. That's the commune part of that. Yeah, thanks. And the second part is donations. So after a year of A and B not being filled out, you're removed from the rosters. Now, removed from membership is nothing arduous. If you've been gone for a year and you come back, then you simply walk in and go, hey, guys, I'm back. And instantly you're reactivated. There's no readmission process. You don't have to take a test again or anything like that. But what that happened is early on in the year, there was an administrative numbers adjustment of about 100 to catch up for those annual departures that we just hadn't noticed. No transfer of church or whatever. Also later down in the report, there's members removed, number of 38, and that accounts for people that have gone to different churches and their church has sent a transfer, or we know for a fact that they have left and have requested to be removed from our membership. And so that's part of the 38. So once this annual set of reports gets cycled through the ELCA and they update with their 2013 numbers, we should see 329 as our baptized membership, and there'll be an administrative change at the bottom of 100 or so that will get these numbers all caught up. So that is the high-level explanation. There have been several people that have come to ask about that. I wanted to get that information out. If you need some more details, we can absolutely go into depth afterwards. So to wrap up the annual reports, we have the motion to amend has been passed. The other motion has been recalled, and I believe that covers everything. Next slide, please, Brian. Elections. Yes, ma'am.
On the pastor's report, I just wanted to see looking back on 2013 at the ministry opportunities, it was omitted the youth beach retreat in June, and that was really special to those of us who attended. I consider that definitely a ministry opportunity that should be looked at.
Absolutely. Now, when we tasked out the different organizations, what we asked them is, because we're going through this transition of what our year is, we're actually halfway through the year now. So what we asked each of the teams to do is to look back 6 months and then look forward 6 months. So we would cover about 6 months of what we had done, which would be right back to July. Now, I do see that there's something from the end of June on there, which I understand. But there's also nothing very much before then. Is there anything else to?
Wouldn't that be more rightly put under the youth report? Youth activities?
It absolutely belongs under the youth activities. Okay. So there's always, in doing any kind of report, there's always things to miss. And so I cannot say that you're wrong. And I can't say that the pastor's wrong either. It was space available. This is what was on there.
Let me just real quick, because we don't always have to get our focuses made. The annual report, I get the reports from the team captains, and I'm not going to question what they give me. I don't know what they've done. I don't know what should be done or what shouldn't be done. So I just put it in. I try to look for some typographic errors, things like that, stuff that doesn't make sense. But I don't know everything that is done. So it all goes into the report as sent in by the team captain. So it's their report of what's going on.
So what I hear you say then is it is captured in the annual report. It just wasn't part of the pastor's email that went out. Okay. Yes. Okay. John, come on up. I get to walk away.
Good morning, but we're now good afternoon. All right. Try not to make it a long afternoon. All right, so we have some elections to consider. And if I goof up the Robert's Rules of Orders, Bob will correct me. So, first one we want to talk about is the Mission Endowment Fund. You heard some conversation about that earlier. If you look at your annual report, there's a good explanation on what that does. So I won't go into a ton of detail. But there's a gentleman, Jason Triddle, who's has volunteered and has been working on that board, but hasn't officially been confirmed or elected by the body. So,
Move to nominate Jason Triddle for the
okay.
endowment board.
So we have a motion to vote Jason Triddle onto the Mission Endowment Fund. Do I have a second? A second? Okay. Any discussion?
I'd like to have the people who were nominated for any of these to stand up. We don't always know
Sure.
everyone. I think it's important that you have that opportunity.
Jason was here earlier. Is he in?
Might
be with the kids.
No, he had to go to work.
Oh, did he? Okay. I can't help you on that one right now. Sure. Any discussions or nominations from the floor for that position? Okay. All those in favor say aye and raise your hand. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Okay, unanimous. Outstanding. All right, the next election is for council. We had a sudden council need 3-4 months ago, which Dan Bircher filled in for the last 3-4 months, has done a wonderful job. That's him. Should have the drum roll on that one. But anyway, so we still need to fill that position officially, so we need to have nominations for that position.
Move to nominate Dan Bircher to the term ending June 2015.
Okay, we have a nomination to put Dan on until June 15th.
I
I think, who was that? Betty, by the way, seconds all of us but first. She's the quickest on the seconds in the meetings. So are there any nominations from the floor for that council position? Okay, let's vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. All right. This is easy. Okay, so June Senate Assembly is coming up, and we need to nominate folks to go and represent us at the Senate. I believe Spike and Donna, you guys represented us last time and are willing to do it again. So we need nominations again for that event.
Nominate John Roberts and Spike Roberts as city judge.
Thank you. Are there nominations from the floor? Second? Second, Bob, second. I'm sorry. Right here? Got it? Okay, any discussion? Great. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Okay, great. I'm done.
Could I
Yes, sir.
ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
The Constitution says there shall be, for the mission endowment, and there shall be seven, I believe, 7 voting members. Now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. 6. I think it should specify what their term is, what the, so we know, so we get the rotation that we're supposed to have, which is spelled out in the policies of the Mission Endowment Fund. So each of them should have to be indicated.
So,
And also, we're missing one. Board of 7 voting members. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
and then 7th is the.
No, Spike Roberts is not a member of the council. The treasurer should be, according to the policy.
Okay, so let's go back to the Mission and Endowment Board
Right.
and have them figure out what.
Yes,
you know,
that's what I would.
We'll take a look at that.
That's good, yeah.
Rather than you have a motion here,
No,
have business here.
that's fine with me. But let's just do that so we get the rotation set up right.
Fantastic. We have a council meeting in February. I expect to have an answer there. Thank you very much. All right, after elections, build the foundation. I can step off again. Mr. Danford.
So I was going to ask who here knows me. I guess you all know me now. For those that don't know me, I'm Amy's husband, the guy that has sat back here and played the drums for about the better part of 10 years. I had an idea that I guess after the September meeting, it was sort of inspired from Matthew 7:25. Whenever you get challenged, if you build your foundation correctly, then you can kind of deal with it. So from that idea, shortly thereafter, I volunteered to be on church council. Put a proposal forward to the other folks on church council and just offered to sort of say, hey, let's set up 3 small teams, 5, 6, 7 folks that would focus on 3 different areas, culture, infrastructure, and spiritual health. Any one of these categories is huge, and it could involve a myriad of different topics and efforts and so forth. But the whole idea was to get people, congregational members, into solution space instead of problem space. It was asking them to, hey, listen, whatever you think the challenges are, come forward with the solution, talk with one another, communicate. And even though the efforts turned out to be very small, I think it's a success because you have folks from different diverse teams talking and communicating with one another and making incremental improvements. Where they are right now, all 3 team leads will get up and speak for about a minute or 2 of what they've done. But they started in October, put forward a kind of a pilot project, went to a vote December 19th by the council, approved to do a sort of a pilot project between January and June. So what they do is they meet or talk about twice a month, try to meet in phase once per month, discuss iterative improvements to what their proposals are. and I'll let them discuss what they're doing between now and June. This was not intended to replace any existing functions within the church or committees. I think of it as just simply an advisory group, but more than advise, they implement and they get involved and they partner with the existing committees in the council. They provide feedback once a month through me, if not directly to the council, with their success and things they want to do. And I think you'll see evidence of some of that so far that they'll speak about in just a minute. And as I said before, small improvements, small successes can mean a lot in terms of developing communication and trust with one another. And needless to say, this had full support from the pastors and the president and folks on the council. And the last thing I want to say before I invite Gene and John Irby and Donna to come up for about a minute or two and tell you what they're doing, is this is not a panacea to solve big problems. It's just simply a few folks talking with one another for the purpose of improving trust and communications across the congregation. Are there any questions for me? Would like to invite those folks to come up just for about a minute.
I'm Gene Ernst. I'm from the Culture Committee. I am not the coordinator. I'm just a member. Our coordinator is Colleen Butler, and Colleen and Lucille are in Chicago right now celebrating Kari's partnership in a law firm. So that's a big celebration. Let's give her a hand even though she's not here. All right, now the culture team consists of Colleen as our coordinator, Lucille Kovic, Missy Arp, myself, Bill Bushman, Jim Curley, and Judy Wirtz. And we have met several times. One of our big focuses is communication. We decided that that is something that needs to happen. And one of the things that's already in place, a beautiful job is done by Denise, and that is our newsletter. But the newsletter isn't being read because a lot of you don't go electronically and read it. So now in February, you are going to find this newsletter in your mailbox. And we're going to ask you to please pick it up, to read it. If you have questions, go to somebody that is in charge of that and ask your questions and get back to us. If you don't pick up your newsletter, you're going to be contacted. We're going to either call you or write you a letter from our committee. As we look to the future, our next thing is the shepherds, because we think the shepherds should be the next line of communication directly to the congregation. All right? And that's where we stand right now. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is John Irby, and Dan has approached me with coordinating and with the infrastructure group. And so our infrastructure team, right now we have Rod Lyman, Judy Thompson, Ken Martin, Gene LaRue, and Norm Saley and Steve Mayer are all part of our infrastructure team. When I was asked to take over the infrastructure, I thought about exactly what infrastructure entails. Because I think every single one of us, when we met together with our infrastructure group, had a different idea or a different agenda of what infrastructure means to them coming into the group. So when further we discussed all this of what we were going to do with moving forward, we really tried to rephrase that as being the church's resources. And what the church handles as far as, and I try to break it down as, we deal with issues dealing with either staffing or building resources or financial issues or any kind of congregational issues to try to build the congregation or try to the most useful use of our resources. So as we've gone through and had some meetings throughout the year, we wanted to try to focus on the first thing we wanted to deal with was with finances. So we've dealt with pretty closely with Jeff, and he'll deal with the exact numbers and everything. But we thought transparency was the best thing that we could possibly do with our finances, and to know that we want to make sure that we're communicating again with what the congregation is doing and with what the council is doing, with what the staff is doing, with everything, so that everything is transparent. So one of the biggest things that we decided to come up with at our December meeting with council was to make something that was part of the monthly newsletter. So now that everybody's reading the monthly newsletter, that we can actually see, we just dealt with a bit of a communication issue and try to make sure that we had all of our ministries listed financially of where they are with all the ministry budgets. And I'm pretty sure that you guys have already seen that in the January newsletter, has seen that. And the other thing that we've tried to do is, I've seen it for the first time this week, it's really exciting, is that we actually have a basically where we're at with paying back our dedicated funds and all that stuff within our bulletin. And so we have a weekly update on a weekly basis to say, are we getting closer to filling back our dedicated funds, or are we going away from filling back, or are we getting worse into filling back our dedicated funds? That's the main issue that we want to deal with transparency. Again, we're all members of the congregation, so we don't necessarily have all the information dealing with specific numbers, but this is what we try to bring across for council. Looking forward, we're looking forward to seeing the church finances turning themselves around and us getting back on track with everything that we're trying to do, and expanding ministries and really working towards expanding things that we're looking at doing. And so our next topic that we're looking at doing is having the ministries create two different budgets. So both a bare bones budget of what the ministries need to be successful with and to hold on to everything, and then a budget that they want to use to help them grow. And with that, we can actually see some progress with our missions and with our growth with the church. All right.
In Matthew 7:25, it says, "The rain fell, the floods came, the winds blew, and they beat on the house. But the house did not fall, because it had been founded on the Lord." When the spiritual health team came together, as John said, there were many ways that we could have, many directions we have gone. But we decided that the main focus that we needed to support was keeping our eyes on the Lord and what He has done and will do for this church and for each of us here. And the best way to do that is through prayer. And so it is our goal, and what we have proposed and it's been accepted, is a directed, targeted, reinstituted prayer ministry for Resurrection Lutheran Church. I am coordinating the spiritual health team. The other people on the team are Eric and Debbie Carlson, Lillian Miller, Wanda LaRue, and Elaine Lyman. As time goes forward, we will be building a tiered structure for prayer, because we all need it, we can all use it. Thank you to Wanda and to Elaine, who have agreed to serve as coordinators to help us get started. But we need every one of you. There will be certain areas of focus, such as our confirmands, our youth, our children. And we need those who are willing to be part of that tree to coordinate each area, and then those under each area who will be willing to pray for the needs that are brought forward. The first example of this will be on February the 2nd. The council and the pastors will be recognizing all of our confirmands. There will be a special prayer for each confirmand as they come forward that day, and the council has approved our suggestion, which was the purchase and presentation of Lutheran study Bibles for each young person that's already within confirmation. That's a big deal. The council and the pastors are recognizing each child and recognizing that they matter, that they are our focus for tomorrow. As time goes forward, that will then again be repeated each fall for the new confirmands as they begin the program. Going farther into the future, our plan at this point, and you will be hearing more about it, is for a prayer vigil on Good Friday. The idea is for folks to sign up to pray for our church, pray for our members, pray for the future, beginning at noon on Good Friday and ending 15 minutes before the service starts. Because we are hoping and we are going to ask that everybody who can attend that service will arrive 15 minutes early, and that those last 15 minutes will be in prayer for our church, our mission, our people, and our future. And then as we move beyond that, our next focus will be the National Day of Prayer. Because it's not enough that we pray from within. We need to reach out to those that are not part of a church or those who just need support. And so it is our hope that on the National Day of Prayer that we can hold a community event service here. We need each one of you, because without prayer, there's nothing. Thank you.
So what we just talked about over the last few minutes is an effort that Mr. Butcher has spearheaded, who's starting to bring 3 different groups of people together from within the congregation to try to move some of our problem areas forward, some places where there have been gaps, either in things that we've been doing with the prayer group or the way that information has been shared out. I am fairly certain that the first approach that we've taken isn't the best. And so as you come up with ideas, you saw the 3 people, the 3 team leads, the 3 coordinators, and I guess in Jane too, who are, I guess one point of contact for that effort. And so if you have an idea, or if you want to participate, or if you have something that will help move this noodle along, then there's some other faces. Become a part of it. Join in with the different prayer teams as they start becoming more defined and more available. And let's, as a congregation, everybody pick up 1/4 of the blanket and start moving it down. That's the only way that we're all going to move forward and grow as a congregation and as a group. And thank you very much, Dan, for taking charge of that from the council's perspective. Next slide, please. Now, the next few topics that we have to talk about are informational type. That was informational type. This is informational type. As we talked about a little bit ago during the sermon, the interview, we're in our 25th anniversary year. We've got some stuff going on, but right now it's kind of loose. We don't have a committee put together. We haven't assigned people. I'm not going to assign people. 25th anniversary is here. It's coming. Some of you sitting out here in front of me have some fantastic ideas, and what we need a group to self-form, kind of. We need people that are interested to start coming together and start talking about these things. We need to start gathering those ideas. From the council, Dee has volunteered to be a coordinator, a point of contact. So if coordinating the 25th anniversary is a good idea and it's warming something in your heart, go talk to Dee, and she will start grouping you guys together and kind of giving direction to, here's what you can do and here's your point to reach into the council and get things moving. So, next slide, please. Water update. So I think there's Paul. So if we have some detailed questions for Paul, I can drag him up here. But let me put these things in a nutshell. The water project by the county has been delayed. We're looking summer-ish, not early spring-ish, for the water project happening. So it's getting pushed back. Funds up on the screen. Seventh-day Adventists are going to be donating money and expertise to help connect the actual water pass through to the building. We're still working on refining some of those things to make sure that any contract or the contract that we sign with their person is solid and is going to protect both sides. I wish I could tell you that they were starting to break ground next month, but they're not. And we are beholden to the county for that timeline. So the next time we get some more information, look in that newsletter that everybody's reading now. And I'm sure there's going to be a segment of the prayer team that's going to be praying for the water to come through. Because I know I do. Every time I come here and I'm thirsty, like I am now. Next slide, please. Audit report. We have an audit report that's finished for the church. And the reports were given to the council. The 3 findings are up on the screen behind me. The report will be made available on the website, I think we decided to do on Thursday. And again, there'll be information pointing to that in the newsletter if somebody would like to go in and read the details. Those are the 3 high-level findings. Number 1, when the mortgage was refinanced, the lower interest rate was backdated, so we actually paid more to the principal than we had planned. So our mortgage liability is actually less than what we had thought it was. Mission endowment was overfunded because of some of the ways that the money was moved back and forth. We actually sent a little bit too much money to the endowment fund. So we'll be pacing our contributions in order to get that caught up and make sure that the numbers are accurate on both sides of the books. And then finally, the ELCA pooled fund A dividend report, and I cannot remember what that finding was. Can you speak to that?
The finding number 3, it was that the dividends that were being paid in the ELCA pool fund A were not being posted. So we just needed to get the recommendation was to have the Mission Endowment Fund Board provide copies of the statements to the assistant treasurer.
Oh, so it was the amount that was being tracked in Quicken wasn't correct. Got it. Okay. So the official records that Mission Endowment had was right. It just wasn't being passed through completely to the church records. So those were the 3 findings. Very, very, very detailed audit. I would once again from the council extend my appreciation and thanks to the 2 of you for that effort that you put in there. 3 findings. Next slide, please. And now we get to the fun part. Now, as Jeff makes his way up here, I would like to point out to the clock that we are just under 10 minutes before our first automatic stop.
All right, folks. So this is our 6-month history. The website has these colors for you every month, and the newsletter does not. It makes it a little harder to read that way. But if we take a look here at December, we had a lot of income and a lot of expenses. And we contrast that with our summertime in July and August, of which there was less income and less expenses. So associated with our seasonal giving, we know that July and August are typically lighter months. People are on vacation. We know that December's more folks will contribute because they're trying to get in their tax statements for the calendar year. And we also now looking forward, and we'll brief this again, that coming in January, February, and March timeframe, that it's not as typically a heavy contribution months as the others for various reasons, but we want to caution ourselves from going into what we repeated last year. So in December, we had 3 salaries, 3 paydays for the staff, which is a little higher expenses. We also